Hi, guys, and welcome to Keep Hope Alive podcast. Boy, do we have a great show for you today. I got Lisa Schermerhorn here with us. I hope I said your last name right because it's nice and long, and I'm really good at messing things up at times. So, but welcome. She is an author and a mindset coach, but we're going to be diving into every things she has done over the years. And I'm so excited because you are a very talented woman.
Thank
But,
you.
but, but Lisa, before we get started, I have one question, well, two questions for you. Out of the last 20 years, how many weddings have you been to?
You know what's really strange? Not that many. I wish I could say more. My daughter's getting married in June. I would probably say in 20 years, maybe three.
Okay, three.
Yeah,
So, okay, my next question for you is at the ceremony part of weddings, the guests will walk in and usually they have to sign this thing. What is that thing?
the registry book.
Yes, the registry book. Very good. Now, I always throw that one in. I had somebody go their life away, the marriage license. If it's fun, you don't know what people are going to say, but definitely one of our big sponsors here is lifeonrecord.com. And what they do is they have a vintage rotary phone that they bring. And your guests are able to pick it up and leave a message, congratulations. And, maybe somebody goes, it's about time you put a ring on her finger and stuff like that. So they can leave those messages. Right next to it is a QR barcode that you can get your mobile phone and scan that in case you wanted to do it later. So before or after it can come through. Once all these are collected, I call it the voice. It's great to hear people's voices. It's a gift too. So once they are all collected, they will burn it either on a 12-inch vinyl record or they have a keepsake speaker that I call the boombox. And you get that. And their plans start at $99. You get this phone number for 1 year. So I always tell people, okay, right before their 1 year anniversary, call back, like maybe 2 months prior. Happy 1 year anniversary. And they get more messages.
That's so
That
awesome. My
will
daughter's getting married in June. I gotta look into that.
Let me give you that
Be
website right now.
fun.
You're going to go to www.lifeonrecord.com. And I love their name, Life on Record, because that's what it is. And they have the cutest things. And I'm so happy. Weddings are a true blessing. And, they're a lot of fun. I've been in the industry for over 30 years, I guess. I worked my
Wow.
way through it. When I was younger, I was just I want to be a certified wedding planner. And that's what I did. I got my certification and I did a lot of the planning. And then I switched over to strictly photography. So that was fun.
Nice.
But well, I want to know more about you. So, who is Lisa?
That's a trick question
Uh-huh.
because the Lisa from when I was much younger is very different than now. I say I became the person that I wish I had been able to find 20 years ago because 20 years ago I was suicidal. Actually, more than that, 25 years ago. So to give a little backstory, when I was a little girl, I remember being in kindergarten and everyone could read and do their letters and their math, their numbers, and I had undiagnosed learning disabilities. So everyone was like doing everything. I couldn't do anything. And I remember thinking that I was stupid. And I would go to summer school every summer. I would get in trouble for every report card. And I just thought I'll never amount to anything. And I was just going to give my power away to everyone and anything that I thought had more authority over me, which was pretty much everyone. Um, I did go on to college by the skin of my teeth, and I got married young, had my children, and I just thought I'm going to be the best mom. And every job that I took was always just kind of going through the motions. By the time I was 38, I had a nervous breakdown. And I was going from therapist to therapist to therapist, and no one was able to help me. And someone suggested a hypnotist, and I was like, a hypno what? Are they going to make me quack like a duck? Like, I just didn't understand what they did. And from the moment I went to see her, she changed my life. And what I came to understand is hypnosis is getting to the root cause of your problem quickly, right?
Yep,
You're
it
not just
sure
sitting
is.
there talking about it. You're getting to where it was programmed in your thoughts. And so I started studying because of her. And then I went on this whole journey of studying with all these cutting edge techniques all over the world. Um, so I got into some shamanism and some metaphysics as well, and NLP, all this really cool stuff. Because I thought, I don't want people to suffer. I like to work with people quickly and move them out. So anyway, uh, I went on this journey of going inward, and what happened was, the more empowered I was and the more I went on this spiritual journey, the more difficult it was in my marriage. And after 29 years, I ended up getting divorced. And that was terrifying because I had never really been alone. And that was 8 years ago. I moved out, and I moved to a place where I didn't know anyone, started my life all over again, had to start a new business, new support system. It was really, really hard. So it's been this process of progression, reinvention, but I always find that our greatest wounds are also our greatest gifts. And so
Yeah.
in that going back and healing that part of me that felt worthless and stupid and didn't know that I could ever amount to anything, and really use that energy to heal. And then, 2 years ago, it was funny. I don't know a lot about your audience, but I remember going to psychics, and every time I'd sit down and they go, "Where's your book? Where's your book? You have a book you have to write." And I was like, "What? I have a book? I didn't have a book. Who's going to read something that I have to say?" And finally,
You'd be
after
amazed.
15 years of trying to write a book, I finally said enough. And I sat down and I just started writing all the things that were all the self-talk and all the negative things that I had to say about myself. And I cleared them, and I forgave myself, and I cleared. And then I wrote my book. And
Good.
it's been amazing. So it's been quite the amazing journey.
Well, that is so good. NLP, I hear a lot. We get a lot of people. I've had hypnotherapists on the show. There's two of them I've done podcasts, and
Yeah.
one of them he posted what was it? His videos of make sure you're not driving because you'll fall asleep. And I even do this with psychics. I'm the person who's like, yeah, right, this is not gonna work. And I have trouble sleeping. And my doctor put me on Ambien 5 years ago. Now, I am so proud of myself this month, okay? Because I tried to do my own sleep from learning from my own podcast and talking to people. How can I take myself off of Ambien and go to sleep naturally? And I did it. And it was a combination. And it was that hypnotherapist. I listened. The only thing is, I think you have to do it like if you're doing a YouTube sample, he's like, make sure you're not driving, you will fall asleep. And I did. I fell asleep to that video. But it was so funny. YouTube went to the next video and it was a loud voice. Make sure you're not driving. And I'm like, I'm awake. I was like, I'm so awake. I was like, what am I going to do? So then I've learned, the soothing sounds, relaxation for anxiety or depression, which is like 11 hours long. And I'm like, okay, I got
Yeah,
this because,
those are good. Yes,
yeah,
so those soothing sounds have something generally called binaural beats. And so what they have is one ear has 1 hertz, and then the other ear is 2 hertz below. And so your brain automatically goes in the middle of it. So what happens is it's instantly putting your brain into a different frequency. And that's why
Yeah.
that works, is that you go into that instant relaxation state.
Got you. Yeah. And that's
Yeah.
so important because like ambient, I have so many stories from people like who've known me past relationships. I mean, 5 years, it's been a while, but my son and my mom, and they're like, you made popcorn, you got dressed at midnight and had 2 cups of coffee, did your makeup and put on a dress, blue jeans and silver sandals. You didn't match, but you were just determined to go to work. And I'm like, no, I didn't. I was asleep. What are you talking about? So yeah,
I was
I
going to
I
ask you if you had any of those incidents, because I've heard that people
I'm
on
gonna have to write a book.
Ambien get up in the
Ambient
middle of the
book.
night and eat.
Yeah, I even if I noticed if I took the medicine and I worried about something, now I was worried about a company Christmas party. What am I going to wear? And I went to sleep, and then 3 days later, this box came, and I'm like, "What is this?" And it was full of like 3 different dresses. They didn't fit me. I gotta laugh at that because I had beautiful dresses, and I told my daughter, "Do you want these? They're gorgeous." I don't know what I did. And I even my friend was trying to sell me her concert tickets because she couldn't go, but she doesn't know this. I was asleep and I said, "Yeah, I'll buy them." I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna
Wow.
have to buy them now." I did tell her I think I took my Ambien. I didn't really know what I was doing, but
Wow.
I ended up giving her the money for the tickets, and unfortunately, I did not go.
Wow.
So, but yeah, definitely. AMVN has a lot of stories, and I saw one. Yeah, I'm just scared because it does help people, but there's tricks. Like I read, you have your feet tight underneath, and that helps for a while doing it that way. But I'm proud of myself to kind of venture out and be stronger than that medication. And that's a good tagline. I'm going to be tagline. I'm going to be stronger than Ambien and learn how to sleep on my own without it. So,
That's funny. That's
yeah.
funny.
Yeah. So, but I mean, from author and everything, I mean, you got your book that you did that you said
Yeah.
you were writing.
Yeah.
Tell us about that journey. Yeah. Oh, look at
So
that.
this is the cover. In every
Okay.
belief is a lie, and if you look at lies in the middle of belief. And this is actually me that my friend photoshopped the heck out of.
Yes,
But if you
I can
see
see that.
the crossed fingers,
Yeah,
when you were a child, when you lied, if you crossed your fingers, then it didn't count.
it
I don't
didn't
know if you
count,
had
right?
that. But yeah, so I wanted to do that. But it was really about my journey. And then what I did was I included things that I learned along the way. And then also exercises in there that people could do and tools and techniques that they could do themselves. So it starts out with my story of walking fire. So I knew things were not going great. My ex-husband and I had tried 5 therapists in 10 years and just knew things were going down the toilet. And
Hmm.
it was really heartbreaking, but neither one of us had the courage to say, it's time. And
Yeah.
I was studying with a shaman at the time, and she said, I'm running this week-long firewalk facilitation program. Would you like to learn how to do firewalking? And I was like, well, I don't know that I do necessarily, but I know I need something and I need help. So it was a week of breaking arrows from your throat, bending a 10-foot piece of rebar from my throat, um, walking on 4 feet of broken glass barefoot. And every night we were walking 7 to 10 feet of red hot coals. Now, in order to graduate, to finish this week-long program, we had to walk 40 feet of red hot coals that Saturday. So
Ow.
when I found out early on in the week, I started having this breakdown, like, how can I ever do that? I'm going to end up in the hospital with my feet amputated. Who can walk 40 feet of fire? I just lost my mind. Every fear imaginable came up. And here's the power of the mind, and this is why I love this work so much. I was literally shaking, and one of the people in my class walked up to me and he asked me, "How much fire have you walked this week?" And I said, "Well, every night we walk 7 to 10 feet." And he said, "Well, so you've walked over 40 feet already, haven't you?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "So this should be a piece of cake. Go." And I literally started walking and I floated across those coals and I don't even remember it. I did, my feet were warm driving home. I had flip-flops on, but
Yeah.
I didn't have any burns. And I remember walking to the other side and I was like, if I can do that, I can do anything.
Yeah. Yeah,
And I went
definitely.
and I went home and the next day, my ex-husband and I decided that we were going to initiate the idea of separation. And how powerful the mind. I went from freaking out to suddenly being able to float across the coals. And what's interesting is you don't want to walk coals when you're depressed because
Mm.
your energy needs to match or exceed the energy of the fire. That's how it works. So, like Tony Robbins does a lot of this, and what he does is he plays loud music and he plays, rah rah, getting everyone going because they want you to be elevated. And as long as your energy is elevated, you can do it. And
Yeah.
yeah, so that was a huge lesson for me.
Yeah. And I mean, like you just said, I remember it was 2 days before my 8-year wedding anniversary. I had to learn also. Um, my husband came home and said, I want a divorce. And I was like, oh, yeah, right. You can't divorce a wedding planner. And I was like, that doesn't work. It's just a joke. It's not April. And I fell out of love with you. But I remember it was just me and my daughter all of a sudden. I had to be strong for her and take care of her. And it was hard. I had to reinvent my life too. And I remember moving out, but it was Michael Bublé and my wine that got me through that, my Zinfandel. And
Yeah.
but I've also learned I didn't have any friends or anybody to go out with, but I was working as the bridal consultant at Macy's, but every morning I would go get my coffee at this donut shop. And there was always this older man just sitting there. And one day I went and, had nothing to do. I didn't have to go to work that day. And I go, mind if I sit with you? And he goes, oh, please. And we became best friends for 6 years.
Aw.
But he goes, I want you to go to karaoke. And I go, oh, I did that on my 16th birthday. I go, wait a minute, they have karaoke. And he's like, the bar is in this parking lot. You should come. I go, I'll watch. And then I started making friends. I went and went, and it helped me. And it was my season. I think it was like almost 8 to 10 years that circle of friends. And we all hung out. The bar ended up closing down, and we talk to each other still. We have little reunion parties, but definitely, it was just amazing that friendship I made. It was what helped me get out and do that journey. So I can relate with you on that. So definitely.
Yeah. No, it's important. When I moved here, the first thing I did was I found a group of women who were all in the healing arts. And they
Hmm.
had just started this group and I became a member and they were meeting every other week. So I found community and community was the most
Yeah.
important, especially when you move to a new place, because I'd moved a lot, but my kids were young. So as soon as I moved, I would meet the parents of the kids. And that's how I got my friend group. This was different because my kids were out of college already. And here I am going someplace new and I didn't have them as a crutch anymore.
Yeah. So yeah, the kids when that's the hard thing. My daughter getting older and everything, and I tried to get married again. It just didn't work out. Then it ended up in a divorce, and then another one had to get out, no choice. But I've started to just see what was happening and learn about me and self-love and who I am and what is it that I want, make sure of it, be 100% because getting married and ending up in a divorce each time was not the path I wanted to take. So,
No.
but I mean, here it is. It's years. 2023 was a learning lesson, a huge one. So I had to be strong and everything. But I did try to start dating again, and a couple of them, it was hard and they didn't work out. But I met somebody that matches my energy and my spiritual energy, and I
Nice.
love that. And I'm like, okay, we're gonna see how that goes. But I'm very happy right now, and I'm keeping my not because it was a lie. I'm keeping it because
Yeah, you
I
can
want it
cross
to
your fingers
work.
and hope that it works. Yeah, no, it's and here's the thing about relationships. And this was one of the biggest lessons I learned. The last marriage counselor that we went to, he recommended a book called The New Rules of Marriage by Terrence Real. And
Mm-hmm.
in that book, it's a terrible name for a title for the book. I would say that it's really a book for anyone who wants to be in any kind of relationship, friendship, or anything. Because what it taught me was it's so easy to be in a relationship and you're pointing fingers at the other person, going, you didn't do this, and you didn't do that, and you didn't meet my needs. And in the book, it made me really look inward and say, okay, how am I contributing to this? You can't just have one party that's dysfunctional. You have to have two people who are doing this dance. And when
Yeah.
you don't heal your unresolved traumas and beliefs from your childhood, you're busy. There's something called a wound mate. We attract wound mates and they're very compelling. And so what happens is we have a wound that is so deep that needs to be fixed. And then the other person has that same wound. And now we have enmeshed, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
we need something from each other. Okay. And so when that is healed, or one person heals, now they're like, I can't get this from you anymore. I need something from you, and now I can't get it from you. When in reality, you each need to love yourselves and understand each other, meet your own needs, and then have a partnership. But so often we're busy projecting our own wounds onto other people, and
Oh
then
yeah.
we're also waiting to get healed and getting our needs met from someone else. It's not fair and it's not sustainable. And once I realized what I had done in that relationship, in my marriage, and took responsibility for it, I started dating and seeing that pattern was still repeating. And I realized that I had work to do on me before I could be in relationship with anyone else. And here's the other thing that was interesting. I made a list of the
Mm-hmm.
perfect man, right? So we can do that to manifest, right? There's two
Yes.
things about that. So the first one is, are you the person that that person wants to be with? Because we can make lists all we want, but have
Yep.
we done the work and developed enough that that person wants to be with us? That's really important to look at. The other thing is, from on paper, I met a guy last spring who was like perfect on every level. It was everything on my list. And I was like, he's handsome, he's spiritual, he does yoga, we just had so many things in common and we could. And then I said a prayer and I asked God, please show me what I'm not seeing. And boom, I went away on vacation and I told him that I wouldn't be available for 12 days because I was going to be surrounded by people. I had a lot going on. It was two separate trips back to back. And I would do my best, realize that he was a control freak. He couldn't handle, and I didn't have the time and energy to be able to devote to him the way he needed me to. And I was like, oh, no, 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 no. If you can't go 12 days with just a few phone calls and you need me like that and you're getting angry at me, uh-uh. So
Yeah.
it was as soon as I asked. And so it's really important to understand that we have these wise beings that follow us around, these angels and guides and whatever. You can ask and they will tell you. And that saved me potentially 6 months to a year of being in a relationship without potentially maybe seeing something, or just, saved me
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, and that's important. Like one of the dates I went on a couple months ago, I was praying, is this real? Like, is this
Right.
really happening? And, I've always thought, okay, he's too much on his phone. Is it a red flag? And, but I found out a harder way that it was a red flag. I don't want to go into too much detail, but, you know, when you're looking, I kind of like it's almost like a test. I always put my phone to the side. If I'm on a date,
Yeah.
I tell them if it goes off, which I have an Apple and it's my
Hmm.
kids, I need to take it. But other than that,
Right.
I'm giving you my full focus and everything. So,
Right.
yeah, but definitely. So, I mean, so with the book, what is the name of the book?
In every
Oh, it
belief
was
is
right.
a
Okay,
lie.
yeah. And we can find that. I'm going to be putting it on our store, but it's through Amazon too, right?
Right.
You
It's
have
through
it
Amazon. Mhm.
Kindle and Audible. Is that
I have a contract to record it, and I'm going to be recording it myself, but I haven't done it
yeah.
yet. So it's right now it's available on Kindle and on and the paperback is available. Yeah.
Okay.
So
I've talked to other people who've recorded their books too, and I think it's great to hear it from the author. So I'm very happy for you. But then it's kind of like, I messed up here, and it's a journey for them to get it done. But you got
oh,
this.
I
You got
paid for
this.
this a year ago, November.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
And I
awesome.
know I need to take a week and just get it done. And I know it's just I'm intimidated and that's my own stuff that I need to work through. Just in the
Yeah.
mindset, I have my own stuff that I have to deal with as well.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So that is so cool. And then I know you do speaking also, and people have called you the why coach. Tell me about
Right.
that.
So a couple years ago, I was invited to be part of this marketing group and branding presentation thing online. And then someone said, "Hey, I'm involved in this Y Institute. Would you like to take your Y assessment?" Like, wow, that's pretty
Yes.
cool.
Okay.
So if you know Simon Sinek, he did a TED talk and it's called Start with
Hmm.
Why. And this
Hmm.
guy Gary Sanchez went on to uh Tim and say, I want to why, help me find my why. And Simon said, I don't help people find their why. I tell them why it's important to know it. So Gary went on to interview thousands of people over 10 years, and he came up with these 9 whys. And so you take a 10-minute assessment and then it comes up with your why, your how, and your what. Now, your why is why you do everything. And most people say, oh, my why is my children, my why is my spouse, my why is this.
Yeah.
You had your why as when you were younger, before you met anyone. Your why is why you get up in the morning and what drives you. Now, are your children a huge part of that? Yes. But these are more so I'll give you an example. My why is challenge. So I challenge conventional thinking and think outside the box. Now, as a child, I had to learn to think outside the box because I couldn't function in the conventional school system. So I learned to think differently and to come up with all these ways of learning that were not within the confines of school. So that's part of who I am. And
Yeah.
when you're a child and you feel like an outcast, it's also feeling like you're not fitting in and you get bullied a lot. So I always carried this part of me that kind of felt broken. And when I did my why, I was like, oh, this is my superpower. This is like I'm a visionary. So challenge people are visionaries. So then
Yeah.
how I do that is I help people find a better way and share it. And what I ultimately bring is the ability to make sense out of complicated situations and problems. So I make sense out of complicated. So I'm out of the box problem solver.
Gotcha. That's so cool.
Isn't that cool? So I take people through all 9, and it's just as important to know your least
Mhm.
favorite why, because
Yeah.
those are the kind of people that may trigger you. or you don't understand very well. You can't have a conversation with them. So when you're doing your branding, when you're doing even in relationships, if you know your partner's why, then you understand them better at a deeper level. You know how to language with them. I did my daughter's why, and that helped me understand her so much better. And I know how to communicate. We have much better communication.
I'm gonna have to try
So
that.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
really amazing. It was a game changer for me. And I go into businesses and do the team wise, where so that way you know you have an assortment. So if someone's starting a business, they want to know they have the right people in the right places. Because if you're missing certain areas, it's much harder for you to do business.
Oh yeah, I agree to that
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. So yeah, that's how I kind of look at different businesses also, and I try to prep them for, years. Like 2024 was right around, we need to do ABCD. So we're par with it, we're up to date, everything is AI now, but I wanted to learn it. It was going to be a new thing that people are going to use, but I was always scared, is it going to eliminate jobs? And
Well,
probably,
I think in some cases, like a lot of writers and authors are struggling. And what I will say is, can you blog and do a lot of writing through ChatGPT and all these AIs? Yes. But what you're missing is the heart and your creativity. And I
yeah,
know people are like, oh, you can whip out books now, boom, boom, boom. And I will tell you, having gone through the writing of a book, it's a birthing. And when you go through that process of writing yourself and really going inside and turning your insides out, you're missing out on opportunity to really
yeah,
have a better understanding of who you are and going through that cathartic process.
yeah,
But
yeah,
it's something that's helpful and makes your life easier. And at the same time, there's always things that we have to manage around it. But even in the case of, for example, with the why, how many photographers are there out there? There's tons of photographers, right? But when
yeah,
you include your why and why you're a photographer, like what is it about what makes you unique and special,
mm-hmm,
then people buy from that emotional place. They buy from that emotional place where they connect with you and they go, oh, she's speaking my language. I want her.
mm-hmm.
And that's why it's so beautiful. And that's why I love the why so much.
I like that. I'm going to start asking now, what's your why?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's a really good thing to do. I mean, sometimes, they teach you in businesses, have your elevator speech when
Right.
you're going out networking. You know, my friend, and she's one of our sponsors. Tell me something I don't already know about you. And that is a conversation speaking term too, so it opens that door to say, hey, they really show interest and they care about what I'm doing, and that's important. So throwing in there, what's your why? It's going to get them to think about that too, So
Right, right.
I'm gonna have to borrow
And when
that.
you take, yeah, and when you take the assessment, it really narrows things down because
Hmm.
when before I had the actual assessment that people would take, it would come up with the why, it would spend an hour just trying to figure out what their how and their what is. And now it's
Yeah.
all compact, so then you can unload it. There's simplifiers, there's clarifiers, there's right way people, there's trust people.
Mhm.
There's yeah, it's a fascinating thing to really dive into. It's a lot of
That is
fun.
so cool. That is so
Yeah.
cool. Now, also, you mentioned you were in a movie feature. Tell us about that
Yes.
journey.
So for those of you who know Joe Vitale, Dr. Joe Vitale, he's written many books. He was in the movie The Secret. If any of you have watched that, it's all about the
I read
law
the
of
book.
attraction. Yep.
Yeah.
So Joe Vitale was in the movie, and it was about he saw an article in the paper talked about this Dr. Hugh Lin in Hawaii who so there was a prison And this prison had this section for the criminally insane. And in order to get funding, federal funding, they had to keep a therapist on staff. And they were turning over people left and right. So they went to hire Dr. Hugh Lin, and he said, well, I don't see patients in person. I just look at their folder and pray over it. And they were like, who is this nut job? But months later, they were still desperate, so they hired him. And using this process called something called the Ho'oponopono, which is this beautiful forgiveness prayer, he
Okay.
cleared out that whole prison for the criminally insane. People either went into a mental health facility, or they went back into the prison population. He healed them all. And
Wow.
so, yeah, so Dr. Vitale wrote about it, collaborated with him. And what I found in when I started telling you the story about writing my book, I had beat myself up so much, and I had resentment from my divorce. I had resentment from people who had hurt me in my life. And so through the process of the Ho'oponopono, which is the forgiveness process, I made a list of all of these things. So as I released them, I forgave, released and
Yeah.
forgave all of them. And then when I did, miracles started to happen. So the
Good.
process of release and forgiveness took me on that journey. And it's, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. And it's this beautiful prayer, and there's this amazing technique to use that prayer to release. And I use that with every single client, the release and the forgiveness. And it opens doors, and it allows things to flow through, and really create abundance in people's lives.
Good. 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 Glad. I'm learning so much from yeah, I'm writing notes. So, hey, I hope
Good.
that all our listeners are writing notes too. So, wow. Oh my gosh. But that is cool. That is really cool. I'm gonna have to watch that movie now. It's Zero
Well, the
Limits.
movie's
Okay.
coming out, so they filmed it at my
Oh,
house. They came to my house and filmed. Yeah, they've been filming all over, and it's going into the film festivals this spring. They said they think they're going to
oh,
be
okay.
finished with
So
it in March, and it'll be out in the fall, and it's called Zero Limits. And so that's when it's going to be released to the public. So yeah, they came for a full day, and I had a cameraman here in my house, and it was a lot of fun. I'd never been part of a movie. I had no idea how much work it was. I was exhausted.
I know doing commercials, I used to do commercials, and that was a lot of work. I can only
Yeah.
imagine for a movie. Yeah. And I maybe once they get the hang of it, it's so much easier to get it out there and, get it done in a timely manner and everything. So, wow. I just, from everything that you have talked about and being, you're doing speakings, you said, like going out to corporations.
Yeah, I do conferences. I go into companies, primarily working with the why. Also, you know, people being able to really get control of their emotions, because their emotions drive behavior, right? And so if
Yeah.
you have a wounded part of you from childhood, let's say you have a 5-year-old, that 5-year-old is making all your decisions. Your 5-year-old is picking your partners. Your 5-year-old is picking your job. The 5-year-old is eating too much at 9 o'clock at night. That 5-year-old is speeding because it needs that adrenaline rush. Whatever that is, those younger parts of us are running us. So
Oh,
it's all
wow.
about going in and healing those younger parts that are running everything. And we also inherit ancestral beliefs. So this is fascinating. They did a study with mice, and they found that um, they would shock these mice every time they smelled a smell. Their grandpups, just when they smelled the smell, would run. And so I've worked with people going back 10 generations to clear out ancestral beliefs. So oftentimes we'll have people who are maybe have scarcity issues, but there's no reason for it. So
Mhm.
I'll go back and clear out, maybe there was a grandparent who survived the depression. Um, there's all kinds of things. I've had people with, going back, that the 10 generations were people who had Aztec and Mayan blood in Mexico. and all of
Mm-hmm.
the abuse and the trauma that got passed down all the generations. A lot of the Native American cultures, the indigenous cultures have a lot of trauma in their
Oh,
culture.
wow.
Yeah, it's fascinating. So we all carry, we have gifts from our ancestors, and then we carry their wisdom and we carry their trauma. So when we can
Yeah.
go back through the DNA and heal it, forgive, and then bring it down, you're not only doing it for yourself, but you're doing it for your children. And you're breaking cycles, ancestral cycles that go
Mm-hmm.
on through generations.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. It really is. So the whole ancestry thing, I mean, healers, if you're a healer, a spiritual healer, you're saying that basically somebody in the past was also, and you're just inheriting their gift. And then you have to learn how to work with it.
Well, an
So,
example, so Dr. Wallen, he wrote a book called Start with Why. Not Start with Why. It didn't start with you.
mm,
So he used an example. I studied with him a little bit, and he used an example. One of his patients came into the world depressed, didn't want to be here, was suicidal as a child. That's
hmm
not normal. She was
yeah,
using language like, I want to be incinerated, right? So when he asked her, said, that's not a normal word. Can you
yeah.
elaborate? Do you have a family member that was possibly in the Holocaust? And she said, yes, my grandmother was. So she came in. What happens is your DNA doesn't change, it changes the way it expresses itself. So this woman went from, into a state of fear and not trusting and not wanting to be here anymore. So that went down the lineage, and her granddaughter inherited that.
Oh, wow.
And she had
So it's,
no way of knowing
yeah,
where that came from.
wow. Surprise, surprise. I mean,
Yeah,
seriously.
yeah.
So, and my grandfather, before he passed, I think it was talked about in the family, or I overheard it when we were visiting, but he believed in time traveling. And I was like, really? I mean, I can't wait to see my grandfather again. I have so many questions because I was like, he was probably one of the coolest people, I mean, I've ever met. I just like, I wish they had a phone to go to heaven and, hey, we need to talk. But I mean, the lessons I learned from him were like, don't eat yellow snow. It's okay to go to a pine tree and put the needle in your mouth. What else? Dust will make your mom happy. Yeah, he was a character, but yeah, I
Sounds
think
like
he
he was a
died
lot of
way
fun.
too soon. Yeah, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Lisa, how would people find you on social media? Is that the
So
right social media?
yeah, so my website is Lisa Schermerhorn Coaching, and I'm actually in the process of changing that to lisamindset.com, so it'll be a lot easier. So you might
Okay.
actually, I think it was worked on today, so you might be able to get that. But the
Yeah.
website is Lisa Schermerhorn Coaching. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. I just started a TikTok account, and I'm on
Yay!
Instagram. I know I'm still I'm a lot older than you, so I'm still getting used to all this technology and
I had
social
my
media.
11-year-old son teach me, so
Yeah, I know. My 30-year-old and my 33-year-old don't have patience with me.
it's funny. Like my TikTok, I will do like mini sessions and just talk or just be myself. Like,
Right,
hey, for Halloween, I had a Chucky and my dog is kissing me, and I was like, I'm gonna put it up there.
right.
I like to have fun. This is me. I have nothing to hide. So,
That's funny.
but definitely. So, I hope we covered everything. Was there anything I was missing?
I could tell stories for hours. So
That's awesome.
I think we pretty much covered everything. And just want to let people know, I'm available for individual sessions if people
Yay.
want to, or they want to just do their why. That's an hour. They do the assessment, and then I take an hour to go over everything. If they want to do some deeper dives on getting through, work with all kinds of blocks and stuff to get people out of their way. And I like to work quickly so that people can get on with their life. So yeah, please reach out. And I love having conversations with people and learning about them as well.
That is so exciting. I love your profession.
Oh,
I'm
thank you.
so
Me too.
intrigued. So definitely give her a call, and also if you do have questions for Lisa, you can call us here at 833-780-HOPE. And that's 4673. But leave a message for her and I'll send them over to her and she'll get those answered for you right away and
Yeah.
everything.
Love
So I want to
that.
thank, yeah, I'm so grateful you're on our show. I also wanted to thank our other sponsors for Keep Hope Alive. Without them, I don't know where the show would be. No, I'm kidding, but they're great. So I'm going to bring them up really quick. As we talked about, we had lifeonrecord.com. That is your interactive guest book. Our next one is Ogden Ventures LLC, Marquise Ogden. He is a retired NFL player for 3 teams. And
Wow.
he is now he's a keynote speaker, best-selling author, and a podcast host. So he has a lot to talk about too, and I'll be interviewing him soon too, also. But his website is www.marquise, it's Marques, and then Ogden. There's no period in between, OGDEN.com. So check out his stuff. Our next one is Bridal Shows Inc.com, and what they do is if you're in the Dallas Fort Worth area or just want to fly down here to meet vendors, they have trade shows. I think their next one is the end of January. But you can go see fashion shows, meet vendors, see their display of what they have to offer, book them, book an appointment, whatever you want to do, they're there. So our next person is milesandSmilesEvents.com, Miss Deborah Rose. Her background, she's an investigator and she does handwriting analysis and lipstick readings. And she's bringing this into weddings and it's really fun. So
Lipstick
I see your
readings.
face lighting up. Look at
I
that.
know
Yeah.
handwriting, but not lipstick reading. Never heard of that.
Yeah, I brought her into the office where I used to work, and it was 3 of us. And she sat down and did all ours. And I was just like, oh my gosh, she was right on every single person. And I was just like, okay. And then I saw her in action working. People loved her. They did not want to leave. It was like, boom. So I
Wow.
definitely, she's amazing to hire out for events. And then our next one is Bryce Harney at www.brycemagic.com. He's been seen on TV, ABC, NBC, I think CBS also. He is a magician and mind mentalist. He does corporate events, church events, big parties, and everything. He is so good at his magic. It's amazing. So check out his website. I do think he has a YouTube channel too to show some of his magic and everything, but check that out. Our next one is richmondpunch.net. He graduated from the Juilliard. He's a violinist. He's been in the Dallas Fort Worth area for many years. I know he moved to Atlanta, but now he's coming home again. Welcome back, Richmond. And he's already booking different things out here, which is really nice. But if you need a great violinist, reach out to him. Our next and one is brand new to us. And I'm wearing it right.
Oh,
Let's see, right here. It says, uh-oh, it's not got there. It says hope, but it's snap bands. And that's www.snapbands. Let me spell that out. It's SNAPPB as in boy, ANDZ.com. But these little bracelets are amazing. They have technology and it will explain it all on there. I'm going to be doing a commercial for them because they're our new sponsor. But it takes away anxiety, OCD, depression, and it has a little magnets on the back that send waves, but it explains the whole process. And you know what? Today is what? Let's see. This is the first day I put it on. It's January 23rd. I'll give you an update. We
I'm a firm
what is
believer in all these kinds of technologies. I use a bunch of things myself, and they really do work. So I'm curious
yeah.
about that one too.
Now, what I got diagnosed with was cognitive therapy or something, but I play the games like Beat Star, and I was like, got this. I'm gonna keep my brain moving and moving.
Yeah,
But that's another thing it works with. So I was like, hey, I'm gonna try this out. But hey, they are giving the message of hope too. We belong together as sponsors. Like, so definitely.
that's awesome.
So, and then our last one is TK Hair Salon in Plano, Texas. So, hey, out here to Texas and go visit them. For men, women, children, they do the haircuts, hairstyling, color, facial for the women, and updos. So, if you have a special event to go to, they would be more than happy to help you out. But you can find them at www.tkhairsalon.com. But other than that, wherever you guys find your podcast, you will be able to find us. And once again, thank you so much for coming on. And make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And you can find us at www.keephopealivepodcast.com. Okay, all that talking, right?
Wow, that's a lot. Gosh, you
That's a
got a
lot to
lot
say.
of sponsors. That's impressive.
I love them all. They're great. They're great. So we're looking for more also. I'm gonna try to see how I can get more and get them all in there and everything. So I'm working on that right now. So it's a lot. You're the first person I told. So now the world knows.
That's awesome.
But
Thank you so much
definitely
for having me here. This was such a great conversation, and
here.
I wish you luck with everything. It sounds like you're really taking off. I'm really excited for you.
Yes, we're getting booked. So many new guests are coming on in different fields because this is any story in the world, which is amazing. So you have a
Right.
story, even ghost stories. You could talk about divorces here. You could talk about narcissistic abuse. We're here to listen and learn. And your story can help somebody else out too. So, yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much. And I
Thank
hope
you.
everybody has a great week. Until our next show, love and light. Mwah.
No.